everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, and it is Friday. That means it is Pink Sheep and Friends Friday. So we are going to be having a guest on today. I did have to skip last week. My guest had to drop out last minute. She was not feeling well, so we will get her rescheduled. So let's start out with two announcements. The first announcement is that tie-dye t-shirts are in the shop. So I had to wear one of these wonderful tie-dye shirts today. This is my collector design. There are, I think, 4 or 5 different tie-dye colors you can choose from now. And pretty much all of my designs are available in tie-dye if it works. So as you guys know, if the graphic doesn't look right with the color scheme, or if it doesn't show up, then I try to not offer it on those specific designs. But if there's a design you like, you just scroll through, you can find the classic tie-dye option, you can look at the different colors, and there you go. There is your tie-dye option. So super excited about those. And we have a really big announcement that I will be talking about in my post today. I'm going to hope to do a post and a reel. Crochet by Sean. Hello, ma'am, love your hair color. Thank you so much. It's already starting to grow out, so, you know. But it does match my shirt, so that's cool. Big announcement. This will be our 3rd year. Halloween mystery boxes are here. Pre-orders are open for our Halloween crochet mystery boxes. So if you are a spooky season person, you're already thinking about Halloween and fall, this is the time. So all you have to do is use the link in my bio to pre-order your mystery box. And I'll give you guys a little secret. We are going to have a little bit of a theme this year in the boxes, and it's something that we've never done. So we're really excited. But we're going to have a little bit of a glow-in-the-dark theme happening this year for our Halloween mystery boxes, and we are really excited. We have not worked with glow-in-the-dark filament before, so really excited. I believe I'm going to be working with 2 or 3 other brands for this one, so that's one of the things that I love doing with these mystery boxes, is having other makers and brands involved in the boxes, so you get to try, products from other makers. But you can get those now. Pre-orders are open through the end of this month. We're only doing 50 boxes, so be sure to grab one while they're available. And yes, so that was the other big announcement. Like I said, you'll hear more about the Halloween mystery boxes on my feed, but this is the first time I've gotten to really announce it here on Instagram, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned it today. So let's see, getting to the main event. Let's see if our guest is here. Let's see. Oh, yes, there she is. So today I am talking to Hands of Zeal, and let's turn my light on. Can light myself up a little bit. Woo, there we go. That's a little better. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Well, I love your shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the Bon Air jumper pattern I wrote probably quite a few years ago now. It's a free pattern on my blog, but I love the yarn.
Yeah.
It's earth yarn. One of their chunky.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love the colors. That's really nice. And is it variegated, or did you use like pops of other colors?
Variegated.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
I love. I don't think I've ever seen one that goes from that much of like a pink and purple to a teal. That's really nice.
Thank you.
Is that one of? Did I feature that one in a roundup? It looks so familiar. I feel like maybe I did. I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, you're so good at posting, by the way, so it may have come up at some point. But.
Yeah, it would have been a while back. I didn't get to do really a summer clothing roundup this year. It's so much work to do like the blog roundups, because like getting all the links and getting everything together and then actually posting about it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. I get that.
So I'm like, y'all can look at last year's roundups. They're still good.
Exactly. I love the Barbie one you did.
Right? I had to. I realized there wasn't anything else like it. So if you searched crochet roundup that's like Barbie themed, it's like stuff for Barbies, like making clothes for Barbies.
Yes.
So I was like, I need to do something. Like, let's have something out there that's just like accessories and clothes. And so that was really fun.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm glad that you did that. Because I was also, anytime I looked up anything Barbie related that was crochet, it was clothing for Barbies themselves. And I was like, there's nothing out there. I want to make something. Yeah. So.
Well, so for anyone who's here watching us today live and replay, whatever, if they don't know who you are, if you want to do just a quick little intro of who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Julie, and I am the founder, owner of Hands of Zeal. I started crocheting about, it's actually close to 11 years now. Okay. When my son was 8 months old, he's almost 12 now. I was living with my grandparents, and my grandmother is jack of all trades when it comes to all things crafting. So she's a crocheter, a knitter, sewer, a painter, and I just really needed something. I have grown up a creator, and I just needed an outlet. So I asked her to teach me how to crochet, and she taught me the basics, and I just kind of fell in love with it then. Yeah. And I think I made a headband like the very first day, and then I tried a beanie, and then I started to learn how to read patterns, and it just grew from there. I started writing my own patterns early on, maybe like a year later, and doing craft shows. Making a lot of little things like amigurumi and rug mugs and ornaments and small things. I didn't really play around with garments very much, and eventually I got into that. And it's just been a really long journey, but a really fun journey. Just a lot of it's been self-taught since then. So I write patterns, I sell them as PDFs, as you know. I was doing custom orders for a big bulk of my time, and then I realized that I was getting bored with that, kind of just making the same thing over and over again. I'm like, I'm not really making anything new, I'm just making the same thing in different colors for multiple people. And I was like, I can't. Yeah. So like, I need to write my own patterns. So that's how I got into that. And I also work with Circulo Yarns. Okay. I know I post about them a lot. I was working for them full time as a like in sales in their sales department. Cool. And now I am a content creator for them. So I make things for their social media. I provide a pattern for them monthly and a YouTube video for them. And I have my own YouTube channel with tutorials. I'm just kind of like, that's a lot, dabbling in all the areas. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, even just making a pattern a month is a lot. It is. It is. Because not only am I doing one for them, I'm also running Hands of Zeal and working on my own patterns. So I love it though. Like I'm constantly crocheting, and there's nothing else I want to do with my life other than create and crochet. So it's great, but I've really had to up my productivity and be very disciplined, you know, in my work. I'm just crocheting all the time. Like it's always with me. It is treating it like a job. I mean, it is a job, so you have to treat it like one. And that's when it comes down to like productivity and scheduling and planning. And, you know, I feel like there are times where I'm watching other people on Instagram and they're sharing things about their life and, you know, very relatable. And like you relate to those people because you're like, oh yeah, like I want to learn more about you. And I'm like, all I do is crochet. How much more can I share? Like I have dogs. Like, you want to see pictures of my dogs? Like, I feel like I'm that interesting, you know? I mean, that's what's crazy. I mean, I know I am. Like I'm, you know, I'm me. I'm an individual person, and but it really does. Once you turn it into a business, it kind of takes over your life. It's not like, oh, I'm a you know, a nurse or a teacher who crochets on the side and makes these things and does all this other stuff. I'm like, no, I just crochet. Yeah, that's the full time. And I didn't realize going into it how, like, all the other things that we have to do as business owners, essentially. I mean, like, thinking about marketing and pricing and all of these things, like getting a website. I'm still learning all of that. Like, I don't have it all figured out,
Same.
you know, like, so there's so much where it's like the business side of things and then the crochet side of things. Making reels and setting up posts and all of that, you know, there's a lot that goes into it.
I think too, when you have a job that's like a 9 to 5, you have a set of expectations of like, this is what you're getting paid for. And, you know, usually those expectations are created around the knowledge that you're working 40 hours a week. So it's doable. You know, they hire you to work this amount and do these things. And when you open your own business, it's like you can literally work 24/7 and there'd still be stuff to do because you're setting your own expectations. Like, I could be updating my Etsy shop because I know I need new graphics. I know I need to be doing more blog posts. I know I need to be filming more YouTube videos. I know I need to be learning about SEO. I mean, but there's only so much time.
Yep, exactly. Very true. And I have 2 kids, so that, you know, that takes up a lot of my time too. I need to make sure that I'm giving them the attention that they need. And, you know, they're 7 and 11. So, you know, making sure homework and meals and all of that, you know, spending time with them. And summer was difficult because I do work from home, obviously. And, you know, trying to navigate, like, juggling, running my own business and having my kids like, hey, Mom, let's go do something. I'm like, so a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, just trying to get in that time of work so I can balance being a mom at the same time, you know? So it's a lot. And that, again, like, I wouldn't have it any other way, but I've had to learn a lot through it.
Yeah. Do they like to get involved at all? Do they know much about what you do? And like, does any of it get them excited?
A little bit. My son, not so much. He's just, you know, he's been my photographer from time to time. And
that's cool. Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm like, hold the phone, take pictures. I need this for Instagram, you know? So like, they know what I do. My daughter wants to learn how to crochet. I've tried to teach her a couple times. She still can't really get the,
she's 7.
She's 7.
Is she the younger? Okay.
Yeah, she's 7, but she's an artist. Well, they're both artists.
Yeah.
But I think that she'll be really interested in the crochet. But I definitely would love for them both to learn if they're interested, because it's a lost art, and I know it's vamping up over the past year or 2.
Thankfully.
A couple years now. I know, right?
Thankfully. Come on, teach everybody.
Exactly. So hopefully they'll pick it up, but she asks me to make her stuff all the time, or she says she wants my items. I have bags of finished projects. I'm sure you're the same.
Oh, that's the problem with designing now. All of that is finished. So all of these upper ones are all finished pieces. It's time for a sample sale, but it's so hard to let go of things. I feel like the more I've learned and the better I've gotten at designing, the more I like what I make and I want to wear what I make. Whereas before I was still working the kinks out. There were some things where I really liked the look of it, but maybe the functionality of the fit of the specific, and sometimes it was just because of the yarn that I used. Like, it just takes using a different yarn for it to be more of a functional piece.
Right.
But you know, the more I make and like, I'm like, I don't really want to sell it. You know?
Oh, I cannot part with my items. It's so difficult for me. So I totally understand that.
Yep.
I had to make 2 dresses for Circulo for a magazine that they did. And my most favorite piece I've ever made was the dress, the Dahlia dress that I made for them. And I had to hand it over because they needed to send it to Brazil for the photo shoot. And now it's their property. And like, I have the rights to the pattern, but I'm like, I wish I still had that, you know. It's so difficult
to make another one. Have you made another one?
No, you know, that's my problem. I don't like making more than one.
Like, already done that.
I know. And I've actually sat down and started to, and then I was like, I remember how long it took because it was with fingering yarn. And I mean, you work with chunky yarn, so you know that.
I don't go lower than a 4.
Okay.
Don't go lower than a 4, and if it's a 4, it's going to be held together with something else.
Yeah. So think about that in a long gown that was all made up of like octagons,
Yeah.
different colors. So it took weeks and weeks and weeks to make. I'm like, I don't have that time to just do that for no reason, you know? So maybe someday I'll make it again.
So, you know, you have created some really intricate designs. And being wearables, that's a huge, you know, not just for people to say like, I don't know if I could even do that. I don't know if I have the skill set to do that. But as a designer, are they also size inclusive? Or what is that size range like for most of your designs?
When I first started, I only did like, it wasn't size inclusive because I just didn't know
Mine
how.
won't either. So you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, my first couple patterns went up like XL.
I didn't know how to size anything.
Yeah,
and I
me
was
neither.
just kind of like winging it, you know? I'm like, I think this will be right. This looks like it'll be right.
Yeah.
So I've had to really work on that. And so now I try and make all my most recent designs, I try and make them size inclusive, or I explain how to make them larger.
Gotcha.
So in one of my patterns on YouTube, it's a tutorial, which is hard to do when when you want to do it in multiple sizes. So I explain, if you would like to make this in a larger size, you just keep adding rounds here, or just add the length here, or, you know, I just explain how to do it.
Yeah.
So the only time I ever actually wrote specifically the pattern instructions was one of the dresses in the Circulo magazine. It goes up to size 6X. And I worked out all of the measurements for that. But it takes a lot of work and to figure all that out.
Yes.
So yeah.
And that's what my question that I was getting at was, what were some of the things that you did to learn how to get where you're at now? Because we all did start with that, like, I'm just going to put it from small to extra large because, you know, maybe I'm a medium or small and I just don't have, you know, I was getting people that I knew to try it on because I didn't know how to do the math up front. So I would love to know, like, kind of what that journey looked like for you, if there were resources that you used, and, you know, how you got to where you're at now to be able to do that.
Yeah, I did a lot of research online, just how, like, what are different sizes, because I'm like, I don't even know as far as inches goes, for bust or waist and shoulders and length of sleeves. I looked up all of that online and just wrote it down. And then I had, I would make a couple samples, and then I'd have some of my friends try them on if they were like larger sizes or even smaller sizes. And what was the other thing I would do? Oh, having pattern testers.
Yes.
That has been really helpful for me because I get the feedback, you know, and I remember I designed something and I released it, and I did not do pattern test. I didn't have testers because this was early on. I was like, no, I trust that this will work. And I was getting a lot of feedback that was like, it's too small. It's too small. And I was like, man, I got the measurements wrong. So it's been a lot of trial and error, but, you know, looking at also what other people are doing, kind of like going to their patterns and looking at the sizing just to kind of compare to make sure like
what the ranges are that they're using. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, then I know that I'm like pretty spot on with that. But yeah, it's pretty difficult to figure that out.
Yeah. I think too, I never thought I'd be using this much math.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Never. I do have to tell you, if you haven't started trying to use like Excel spreadsheets for your sizing, if you don't do that yet, it's a huge help. Once you figure out your gauge, you can put in, my little Excel has like the standard sizing. I use the Craft Your Own Council standard sizes. So they have, you know, the sizing for bust, and I usually go by bust because most of my stuff is like a cardigan. So I'm going by boobs, like however big your boobs are, you want it to go around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'll have the average bust, and then I figure out my gauge, and then I'll take that number and I'll fill in, okay, if I'm going to make it, because usually most of my patterns are done like bottom up, so it really depends on the stitches. So however wide the stitch count is, so I'll enter that in, and it'll tell me okay, if you do, 26 stitches across, then it's going to be, however many inches wide. And then I can double that for the, circumference. And then I look at the average circumference for bust and I can see, and then it's so easy to change it. Cause I'm like, okay, well, if 26 doesn't work, let me see what 27 looks like. And then it'll automatically change it. And I can build my numbers. And I didn't start doing that until, it was this year. So like before I was handwriting, I have this whole book.
Oh yeah.
See if I can tell it. Oh, I don't see it. I don't know where it went, but I had a whole spiral notebook that was just handwritten notes and calculations and, seeing if the numbers were working. And so it was a game changer. And I can't remember, I saw a couple of designers talking about using spreadsheets and I was like, I just need to try it.
Yeah.
All the math and
how does that work? I don't.
Yes. I'll send you my spreadsheet.
Please
I'll see if that helps.
Please do.
Well, I wondered because you're designing for Circulo, I figured they had stricter standards than if you're designing like for yourself. Because I've seen that with, I've really only designed for Hooked, so the Hooked brand and Happily Hooked magazine when they were still a thing.
Yeah.
And all of them had like, it has to be, these sizes have to be available and these, so I'm interested to know what that has been like for you creating patterns for them, if it has been stricter, and like maybe if you have advice for people who are looking to create designs for magazines or brands and what that experience has been like for you.
Yeah, that's they give me a lot of free reign in my creativity, but they do want me to provide they said at the beginning 3 sizes. I normally do 4 or 5, small to like extra large or larger if I have the time to figure all of that out. So I think that spreadsheet will really help. But as far as the design, they just kind of give me some guidance. They tell me which yarn they want me to use. And then normally it's like, okay, fall's coming up, so work on a cardigan or a sweater or something, or it could be something summery and like a dress. And so they'll just say that. And then really I have free reign to do what I want. The only thing is they don't really want like crop tops, which I make a lot of those. So I've had to, that's another thing. I'll design something and then like, if you would like this longer, you can just add more length to it because, I live in South Florida. It's always hot. And like, if I'm going to be wearing a crochet piece, it's normally something that I can wear outside in, like summer wear.
Where in South Florida are you, by the way?
Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay. My sister-in-law used to live in, oh my gosh, I just lost it. Wow.
Like East
if
Coast
I hadn't
or West
thought
Coast?
of it. She's on the west side.
Okay, maybe like Naples or Tampa or.
And it's not either of those, but it's over. It's all the way over. Yeah. So I don't know. As soon as we get done with this, I'll remember.
Like, I remember now.
So Gina Carey says, hello, ladies. Do you have recommendations on how to get your patterns published in a magazine? It's on my bucket list. So you said Circulo was a magazine, has a magazine, correct? Have you worked with any other publications by chance?
I have not. However, I went to, I'm going to forget right now.
See, it's not just me.
It happens. You can go on the website to almost any magazine and find out the contact information. They're usually putting out requests for patterns.
Yes.
Every quarter.
Okay.
So I would get, and again, I can't remember which magazine it was at this point, like Crochet, might have been Crochet, I don't remember. But I would get an email from them every quarter saying, we're accepting applications or patterns. This is what we're looking for. And then people just submit their designs. And if you get picked, then you'll be in the magazine. So I never actually went through and sent any of my patterns ever, even though I was like, I should do this, I should do this. And I never did. But that is definitely a way. With Circulo, I was already working with them, and they wanted to make an exclusive magazine, and that they'll put out different magazines and ebooks from time to time. And so they selected a few artisans to create a couple pieces. So that was a little different. But as far as getting in any other magazine, it's not as hard as it seems. You just have to find the right person.
It is tedious. You have to do the research and figure out. So I know I have, I'm just like you, I have 2 or 3 magazines that I have all the information of how to submit, and I just haven't. Because it usually is. So for instance, I worked with Happily Hooked magazine a lot. When they were still running, I tried to get my patterns in, they released monthly magazines, and I tried to get in every month if I could, at least 6 times a year. I would want to submit something, but it's because they made the process really simple. You did have to take your pattern and put it into their format, so you're literally having to reformat your pattern. So again, that's a whole other piece. But they paid well, and that was a big piece of it. They paid really well. You maintained your rights, so that's something you have to look at. If you're creating a pattern for a magazine or for a brand, will you get to continue to sell your pattern? Because I've had, so far, I don't think I've ever sold my rights. So I have patterns on Hooked websites, that the HOOO, that the Hooked brand. They have some patterns on their website. Lovecrafts has at least one of my patterns, and Happily Hooked magazine, and I think that's everybody. But even though they paid me, I retained my rights to the pattern, so I can still sell it in my Etsy shop. So that's important to pay attention to. But it is just looking at what they need and then just submitting. Now, it can't already be being sold anywhere. That's a big one. So usually it has to be a new pattern. So you're going to have to create something new. And then if they don't take it, then you release it. You know what I mean? But it's good to remember that you're going to have to create something that you haven't already begun selling. And that's really hard. Sometimes I created a pattern for Hooked. For Hooked. And I used their, I don't know if have you worked with any of their yarn?
Haven't.
I feel like you'd like some of their stuff because they have some really great cotton, and it's all recycled fibers. So check them out. But they have some good chunky cotton, which for me is hard to find. It's really hard to find cotton over a 4-weight that's, fun to use.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is like kind of a macrame style cording.
Oh, I love that.
That's what it's like. And lots of colors. And so I got some, and I created a pattern for it's like pot and pan protectors. You know what I mean? That like go in between your pots and pans so they're not banging around.
Cool.
And was super excited, got my testers, all that was done. And I was like, you know what? I probably need to ask them if they want to buy this, because I could release it now, or if they want to buy it, then I can still release it with them, and I'll get money from them and from me selling the patterns. They were interested, but I've had to wait almost a year to release it because it didn't fit into their calendar. You know what I mean? So they were like, we don't want to release it now. We want to release it. So I'm just sitting on this pattern and it's ready, and I can't share about it. So it's a whole different world with the magazines, but it's a great goal. So if you're still on here, Gina Carey, just go for it. Put yourself out there, apply for stuff. If you don't get in immediately, and again, they may be doing calls. I know that I still get calls from We Crochet and Knit Picks. They're always looking for patterns. Now that's not a magazine, but it's an option. It's a way to get paid for your work outside of just you selling your own patterns,
right? Which I think a lot of crocheters are looking for that.
Yes.
Or wondering how can I do that? Because that's how I was, and I realized the money was in writing patterns, to begin with anyway. And the more I produced, the more money I could make, and then knowing okay, let me try the YouTube thing. Are you on YouTube?
Yes. Okay. And it has been, I think I've been on there now for about 2 years. Okay. And I got monetized. That was my goal. So my goal is to get monetized on YouTube. I don't get a lot of money from them. So I'll tell y'all, if you want to monetize, you can get monetized fairly easily if you're consistent and, you know, start going live if you can, post your tutorials, you know, really push it, get people to subscribe. So I think you have to have like 1,000 subscribers, or no, it's the watch hours. You have to have like a certain number of watch hours.
And subscribers. So it's 1,000
Yes.
subscribers and then 4,000 watch hours.
Something. It's a big number.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm monetized too, but it's honestly because one of my tutorials did really well.
That's awesome.
And everything else has just been like, hasn't done as well. I'm like, this is tough. Like,
yeah,
I've got this
the people that are making
video.
Yeah,
and I know
people that are making lots of money. I
know. You have to be really consistent, and that's another thing. Making the YouTube videos, like I do one for Circulo every month, but I'm like, you know, through the editing and everything, and getting the proper lighting and your camera quality and all of that. There's so much that goes into that, and my tutorial videos are long, you know. So
they have to be.
They have to be.
Yeah.
So getting into the YouTube world is tough. It's not impossible, obviously. I mean, we both got monetized, but keeping up with it, that's like a full-time job in itself.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too, is Circulo, are they based in Florida? Are they international? What is that company? Where are they based?
They are based, well, they're a Brazilian company. So their main hub is in Brazil, but they were trying to expand. So a couple years ago, they came, I think like right when COVID hit, actually, or like right before COVID.
Of course.
They came to Miami, and ever since then they've been trying to, you know, spread the word about Circulo, and I love their yarn. Like that's mainly what I use, but they're slowly getting into boutique stores all across the States. They're growing really fast, but they're down in Miami, so about an hour from me, an hour south of me. Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, because I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, my dream is to work for a yarn company. Because I've thought about that too, of working for one of the big brands, doing something for them. How did that work for you?
Oh, it was great. I'm not a salesperson, so that was hard. That was tough for me, but I loved working with them. And I think we kind of realized, like, okay, I'm not the greatest fit when it comes to sales. I don't love being on the phone. So that was also another thing that was tough for me. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person, honestly. But when we figured out that I would do content creating for them, I was like, well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like I can definitely do that. But it's been fun. I mean, you know, they send me yarn. I get to see all the new releases. I did a trade show with them, the H&H show last year.
Yeah. That has
so there's been, and there's been a lot of perks that come along with that. And I've also worked with Earth Yarns. I have, well, this is one of their yarns as well. So I've done a few collaborations with them as well. But it's really cool. And working with Circulo kind of just fell in my lap. Like they reached out to me.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, that's really how it happened, because I was just kind of really diving into growing my Instagram, and they must have come across me or maybe found me because I was local, and they just reached out. Hey, can we send you our yarns and you make something and just promote, you know, how that works. So I was like, yes, of course. And that was how the relationship started. But I think because I was so close to their office, they invited me to come and work with them. So that's kind of how that relationship started, really. I mean, it's just the opportunity I had because I was close in proximity to their office. So it's been such a blessing. I'm so thankful. I love working with them. They're like family to me. They're so good to me. They're so good to all the artisans like that have promoted their work. So
see, now I have to use Circulo yarn.
I'll send you some. I have tons.
And I literally haven't used their yarn. Now, I think it is, and of course, I'm not going to remember her name now, but I swear it's another designer who uses circular yarn, who has a lot of patterns out there. If I remember, she's got like brown curly hair.
Yeah, Marie Castro?
Yeah. Not Marie Castro, because
Okay.
I've talked to her as well.
Okay.
But this is, and I can't remember where she is either, but and somebody might know I'm talking about in the comments. I've promoted a couple of her patterns and roundups, but she if it's her, if I'm remembering correctly, because again, Instagram is the black hole, and it may have totally been another artist, and it may not have been circular yarn, but I think it was.
Okay.
But they have like I think it's a bulky, and it's like a chained structure bulky yarn. And I don't know if it's new, but I saw it and I was like, oh, I really want to try that. So I'm going to have to look back. I did save it under my saved reels under yarn I want to try. So I have like a whole, you know, the Pinterest board of Instagram.
Yep, I have that too.
I have a section for yarn, and I did save it. So I'll have to go back and the back.
Can you hear me?
You came out a little bit too, so I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. It was glitchy for a little bit there.
I just moved the wrong way, you know?
I'm trying to pick up the signal.
Yeah, it's bad at our house. I have to be on the Wi-Fi because I don't have like any kind of data signal out here. So that's super fun when it storms and you don't have internet all day.
You're in Alabama, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So not too far. Oh, by the way, it was Fort Myers. I had to go look at yeah. So I have been to Fort Myers a couple of times, and that was really nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello. I can still see you, and I don't know if it's near you.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Because
you're good.
We're both freezing, but okay. So we'll do some quick follow-up because we've only got a few more minutes left. I'm trying to start doing 45 minutes for these. They used to be an hour because I can talk forever.
Yeah, me too.
So I would love to know what is your go-to yarn and hook size?
Okay, so honestly, I like light worsted, so like a 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my go-to. And my hook size, I'd say a G.
And what is that?
G.
Millimeter, do you know?
You know what? I'm horrible with that because I always use the letter, and everyone's like, what is that?
I know.
Sometimes in my phone, hold on, I literally have a box.
Oh, and
my box of hooks. Like all of them here. So what is the G?
There's a G. G's 4.25.
Thank you.
Yes. So I just realized that this came in handy. So I made a planner last year. So this is like my Amazon planner that you can buy on Amazon for yarnies. And I always forget, but I tried to put some helpful things in the front. So there's like crochet abbreviations and yarn weight. And it's got hook stash tracking. So you can track what hooks you purchase. And it has the millimeter versus the letter. So I was like, wait a second, I have that.
You have this on Amazon? Like you bought it or you sell it?
I sell it on Amazon.
Amazing. I will purchase one.
Yeah, this is
great.
And I bought the little tabs because obviously it's just the Amazon print, so I couldn't do the tabs, but I bought the tabs. And I told myself if I'm going to sell these, I have to use it, you know. So and it is already August, and I am writing my August to-dos, and it's got the day-to-day and then the notes side, and then you had to have the crochet side. So if on the first of every month you've got your at a glance, but then you also have project planning, so you can plan your crochet projects for that month.
I love it. So this is I'm terrible, and I'm trying to be better. Maybe I need your book in my life because I'm like, I don't have anything organized.
Yeah.
So I printed this out.
Yes. Yep.
but it's blank still. So
Oh, well, and I'll show you. So I had always wanted to write a book, and I was like, well, I'm going to start with some easier stuff because I don't want to try to like write a actual full on novel,
yeah.
you know. So I released 3 books last year on Amazon, and that was one of them was the planner, and the other 2 are journals, and one of them is the Crochet Pattern Designer Journal. So it actually goes through, and you have like progress checklists and project basics, and you have project details, sketches for the design, and then more design sketches, and then another one, and then you have a final progress checklist at the end of each one. Amazing. So that's been fun. That was, and I can't remember how many. I think you can do like 13 or 14 projects. So that'd be like, you know, 1 a month for a year. And then I have the tester journal, and you can get them. This is the hardback. I wanted to check the hardback out. But it's very similar. You do like notes and feedback. You have all your info on the project. You have contact info for the designer. But I was like, I didn't see stuff like this. So it was like, that would be fun. So those were the dive into.
I love that you did all that. So great. You also do stickers and hooks, right?
Yeah. And that's, yeah, these would be up your alley. This is a 4.5. So that's the handle. So this is one of the like bright shiny blues. So we got the sparkle, blue sparkles, but it's 3D printed, and then we resin coat so that they're smooth, you know. And we do, the only thing we haven't done yet is clover. So we have like just the tapered, and then Susan Bates. So we do the Susan Bates, we have the inline, and then we have the tapered. But I have clovers. Like I literally, it's like talking about all the things we could be doing.
I know. I get it.
We bought the clovers, and we took the handles off, and we cut the ends because they had that weird end on them if you take the handles off of them. And so now I have one clover.
I use it a lot, actually.
Yep. So I have to design a hook for every single one of these, like a handle for the right size. Then we have to print it and test it, and I just haven't. I just haven't done it yet. But they're ready.
Well, you had posted about like all your whips earlier.
It's ridiculous. There's a lot.
I can relate. I have bags because I keep mine in bags.
Yes, I've been trying. I'm getting better.
I'm like literally like this, and I'll just
I'll
put the hook in there too because
I need bigger bags than that for mom.
I always forget what hook I was using, so I'm like, wow, but I can relate the multiple whips everywhere.
Yes. And everywhere. I mean, I don't have room. I don't have room for them all in my office. And again, it's time for a sale. It's time for me to sell some stuff. And as I'm looking, I'm like, what am I really willing to part with? Can't I just frog some of it and make something else? Like if someone. So there's that too. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Now, quick question for you. How is the like crochet community in your area? Do you do like meetups or anything, or no?
I've always kind of been a homebody anyway. I've never been in any kind of crochet night group. Not that I wouldn't. If I found an opportunity where I felt like the people were similar enough to me that I would get along with them, that I would do that. But I did used to do shows when we were in Atlanta. So we lived in Atlanta, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia for 7 years-ish, 7-8 years. And that art community is amazing.
Really?
So like not just the number of artists that live in that area, but the number of shows, the number of shops that support local artists that you can do consignment or wholesale to, that just showcase like local work. And like that's all the shop does. I mean, I could count just now at least 5 shops that's all they do is showcase local art.
I love that.
So lots of pop-up events, lots of, every weekend you could do a show if you wanted to in the area. And it wasn't just that, it was the community was supportive. Like you wanted to help each other. You wanted to, if you were at a show together, you know, and you needed someone to watch your booth, like that feeling of support was there. It wasn't like, well, if you're successful, I can't be successful.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes there's that really negative mentality.
Right.
Or just kind of, I'm better than you because I make paintings instead of crochet. I mean, like there's definitely some, you know, comparison there. But when I was there, if I was still in Atlanta, I do feel like I would still be doing shows.
Okay.
Because that community was so nice.
Yeah.
Here, there's not as much to choose from. The people that are at the shows, I don't mesh the same way. Okay. So I don't really need to do the shows. I just enjoyed them. So,
yeah, no, I get that.
You know, that was really my community was more of the art community in general, versus crochet. And I think too, like my crochet is very, very basic. I've always been, I'm super impatient, you know, so all of my work is really basic, really fast. You know, the cardigan that I always tell people to start with if they've never made a wearable and they want to use one of my patterns is the Luna, because you can make it in less than 6 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, quick. So it's quick. I'd say it's ADHD friendly, I guess, would be a good one. You know, you get bored really easily. You know, so, you know, I think sometimes a lot of the craft groups that are meeting at like, you know, yarn shops are making like really intricate pieces, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't know. I don't know if my stuff is the same. Maybe one day.
Yeah, there's not much here either as far as like a community. We have one boutique yarn store, which I love, but whenever I go in, like there's nobody my age in there, you know, or even remotely close to my age, and not like that's a problem, but you know, I'm like, I want a place to go, you know, where I can hang out and chat and work on a project with somebody else who's working on a project. So I'm trying to start something here, you know.
That's super smart. And teaching too. I mean, I think that's figuring out a way to do classes and get some other people hooked, literally. So that they'll want to crochet with you.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully I can start, you know, building that community down here.
Well, I can't wait to hear like the progress with that too. You know, so as you move forward and how you approach that, you know, and how that works out, I think that could be really, really great.
Yeah.
You know, and not just for you, like for all these other people who, you know, will now spend way too much money on yarn.
Exactly. Welcome to our world.
I know. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to keep you too long. But you know, I think this was a great chat, and you know, the main reason I do these, I really want them to just kind of go wherever they want to go, wherever the conversation needs to go. And I think that has been really fun. And, you know, it doesn't have to be super structured. So
thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Of course. And we'll have to catch up again, because I think that everybody that I talked to, like we all have ideas and goals and kind of dreams and things that are like, this is kind of what I'd like to see. This is the direction I'd like to see my work take. And it's been really fun. I think I've gotten to check in with maybe 4 or 5 people at this point, and it's been, you know, like maybe a 6 month, you know, so it's far enough out to be like, well, where are you at now? What you doing now?
You ever get those hooks done?
Right?
Are those clover hooks doing?
Yeah, don't hold me to that. It might be a while. Well, I'm so thankful to everyone who has hung out with us live today. And if you're watching the replay, thank you guys too. If you joined in late, this will be available on my Instagram feed almost immediately. I try to post that pretty quickly so you can go back and watch from the beginning. But it'll also be available on my YouTube channel within the next couple of days. I try to do it same day, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So next couple of days, it'll be on YouTube. I will tag you since you're on YouTube as well. So it should alert you once that's live. And this is episode 60. So if you guys...
Congratulations!
Woohoo! I need confetti.
Right? Champagne.
But you guys can, anybody can watch all of the episodes on YouTube. There's a whole playlist dedicated to Pink Sheep and Friends. So if you want to discover other designers, other makers. You know, sometimes I branch outside of crochet, but mostly it's the fiber community.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in making some new friends, you can check everybody out. And that, like I said, that's over on my YouTube channel. But this one you should be able to watch almost immediately again if you want to check back in and watch from the beginning. But thank you again so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds
Bye.
good. All right,
Happy
bye.
hooking.